Hi, it's Robin Sharma, author of the 5 a.m. Club, and I'm absolutely delighted that you've made the time to be here with me in this episode of the Mastery Sessions. This episode is called 6 Things I Wish I'd Learned When I Was 20. And I'm going to get right into the first one. The first thing I wish I'd learned when I was 20 is that you can play with toxic people or you can live at world class. You can't do both. It's very easy for very good people to suffer from a lack of creativity and productivity because they're surrounded by energy vampires, dream stealers, and negative naysayers. And what I've learned over the years is simply this. One of the most powerful ways that you can live a rare air life, whether it's in terms of your productivity or performance, or in terms of your prosperity, or in terms of your happiness and sense of peace, is delete the people who steal your joy. I'll repeat that again because I believe it's so important for you. Delete the people who steal your joy. In the 5 a.m. Club, there's a model that has been absolutely transformational to people across the planet, and it's called Joy as a GPS. There are 3 elements that will help you dramatically improve not only your success and your performance, but also your levels of inner joy. And one of those 3 things that I teach in the book is the people who steal your joy. In other words, you can do a list in your journal later today or right after this episode. Write down in the first column on the left-hand side of the page, who in my life is stealing or diminishing my joy? And then in the right-hand column, write down who are the people in my life who elevate my joy. And then have the wisdom and bravery to start removing and releasing the people in your life who are bringing you down. And then I always get this message a lot, or this question a lot. Well, what if it's my mother? What if it's my best friend? I'd simply say to you, people come into our lives for reasons, seasons, or lifetimes. And one of the ways you can tell a victim in action is they give away their power to other people. You have a lot more power than you may be exercising in awareness. And you have the power to let go of people, even if it's a family member. Or you could say it's going to be selective association. Rather than talking to them every day, I'm going to speak with them once a week or see them once a month. Or you can never see them again. You can see them less often. It might be in between. But you have the power to do what feels right to you. The larger point is simply this. The first thing I wish I'd learned when I was 20 is you can be around energy vampires or you can change the world. You don't get to do both. The second thing I wish I'd learned when I was 20 is that everything that happens to you is for your growth. A bad day for the ego is a great day for the soul. So the ego might be saying, oh, that was terrible. That was a tragedy. That was a difficult meeting. That was a hard moment. That's just your ego chattering. And your ego is really the voice of your fear. You want to become much more aware, not of your ego, but of your higher self, that primal genius, that native hero that lurks at your core under the layers of fear, doubt, and disbelief. And the more you start to get to know your bravest, strongest, truest self, and the more you stand in your true power versus your fake power, the more you're going to realize everything that happens to you, whether it's been a tragedy, a subtle adversity, is for your growth. Therefore, it's all good. You know, what I'd offer to you is simply this. Don't be a resentment collector. It's a term maybe you've never heard from me before. Be not a resentment collector. A lot of people, what they do is, it's all about being positive. It's all about everything being in the sunshine. Well, that's not really a true life. As a matter of fact, if you want to be a legendary leader, you've got to go through a lot of suffering. You've got to be knocked down and then be willing to continue. You're going to be laughed at and you're going to be ridiculed. You're going to face self-doubt. You're going to be exhausted at times. You're going to face all sorts of challenges if you want to get to your Mount Everest. And if you're listening to the ego as well as the dominant messaging of our culture, which is everything needs to be happy and sunshine and puppies and roses and rainbows and butterflies, then you're going to miss one of the key insights I wish I learned at 20, which is everything that happens to you is good. Everything that happens to you is for your growth. Everything that happens to you is designed to help you burn away your ego and build more fluency and intimacy with your authenticity. What do I mean by that? I really think it's the times of suffering that make you great. We all, as we go through life, have our Robin Island seasons. And I'm encouraging you in this episode to develop an appreciation of not only adversity, but maybe even a love of tragedy. And you might say at that point, Robin, you've gone too far. And I would simply say, imagine how brave you will be if you are detached from all outcomes. Whether it's a tragedy, whether it's a victory, you still feel joyful, powerful, and peaceful. That is where the legends play. That is the place you want to get to. Detachment. Literally, you let everything go. One of the things I also wish that, and this is not one of the 6, but I wish when I was 20, I'd learned the power of letting go. Letting go of trivialities, letting go of, things that are not really that big. But point number 2 is really this. You want to remember that everything that happens to you is for your growth. And if it's for your growth, and if the difficult things make you stronger, wiser, more relatable, more authentic, more loving, tougher, more creative, well, then that's good. Why would you resist it? Why not befriend it? The third thing I wish I'd learned when I was 20 years old. This is not going to surprise you. When you own your morning, you'll elevate your life. I wish when I was 20 years old, someone had taught me that early rising is an absolute game changer. Why? Because if you learn how to start your days well, your days will unfold gloriously, consistently. When you start your days before sunrise, you have a gargantuan competitive advantage. There's no crowds. People are nicer. People are more open. There's no traffic on the streets. You can actually think. One of the lines in the 5 a.m. Club is tranquility is the new luxury. When you start your day well, you have the time. I call it the victory hour in the book. You, from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, you get to run the 20-20-20 formula, which I teach in the 5 a.m. Club. So let me simply say for now, you have the time to work on yourself. You have the time to work on your heart set, to develop your mindset, to exercise, whether it's doing planks or running on a treadmill, or maybe it's soul cycle. I don't know, but you get to work on your heart set. You get the time, early rising, to work on your soul set, where you can connect with your cause and connect with your mission and detect your values and build yourself into that hero and brave warrior, so that when you go out in the world at 6 a.m. and you feel fundamentally different, you're full of true power, you're full of clarity on what you need to achieve during the day, you've got this intimacy with who you truly are, so you can stand steadfast in the turbulence that every day might bring. You have more energy, you have more joyfulness, you're connected with this peace. I mean, peace is really important to leadership and exponential productivity. When you are peaceful, grounded, focused versus diffused and scattered, there's a term called digital dementia. A lot of us are suffering from digital dementia because of all the devices and technology. We're not focused and grounded. So of course we're not going to be at our creative and productive best. So the third thing I wish I'd learned when I was 20 years old is the value of wiring in the lifetime habit of rising before the sun. I was in India on a book tour 2 months ago, and I learned, a lot of people came up to me and they said, Robin, this is our philosophy. This is why the great sages and the great mystics and the great poets and the great thinkers got up before the sun. This is why Mahatma Gandhi got up before the sun. It is a time of incredible peace in the air. There is a magic before sunrise. And what I was told in India on this book tour was that that's why people meditate at 5 a.m. Because the mind has rested through the night, so it's more pure and available for new learning and growth. The heart is more open at 5 a.m. So you can do that deep heart set work to release the lower toxic emotions and to optimize your gratitude, joyfulness, inner majesty. And so I wish I knew that at 20. Now I learned it towards my late 20s. So I didn't miss out on it mostly, but I'll share one thing with you. Joining the 5 a.m. club and rising before sunrise and running the 20-20-20 formula is absolutely transformational. Hi, it's Robin Sharma, and I really hope you're enjoying this episode of the Mastery Sessions. I'm absolutely delighted that people from across the planet are getting such great results from what I'm doing in the Mastery Sessions. Well, for a long time, we've received so many requests from advertisers to put their ads on the Mastery Sessions, and I have resisted doing so. And yet what I wanted to do very quickly is offer you 2 resources that I absolutely know will create some marvelous shifts and elevations and results in your performance and in your personal life. The first is my book, The 5 a.m. Club. If you have not read it, you really need to know it's one of the best-selling books on the planet right now for a reason. It is transforming the lives of everyday heroes and people who want to make their ascent to world class. Definitely read The 5 a.m. Club. You are going to find it a very special book for your rise to world class. Secondly, for years, people have been asking me, Robin, we want you to be our mentor. Robin, we want you to be our coach. We want to learn what you've taught to the billionaires and the NBA superstars and the other professional athletes and the film icons and the titans of industry. Really quickly, all you need to do if you're interested in me becoming your mentor, head over to thecircleoflegends.com. Thecircleoflegends.com. I've created a world-class digital mentoring program where I will work with you each month to help you make your leap and your ascent to absolute world class. Okay, now back to the episode. And this brings me to the 4th thing I wish I learned when I was 20, which is there's a difference between being busy, and genuine productivity. Please don't confuse movement with getting real things done. As a matter of fact, the billionaires that I coach and the titans of industry that I advise, they all have one thing in common. They really don't work super hard. They are much more interested in quality work than busy work. We live in a world where a lot of people are running around being busy. They're doing too many meetings. They're available for every phone call. They're always checking their technology. They never get lost. They're masters of yes versus magicians of no. And so their lives become very complicated. And yet the true superstars that I've worked with, they're much less interested in complexity and they're much more invested in simplicity. They do a few things in their professional life staggeringly well. They build a great team. They structure a great lifestyle. So they have time to mountain bike and they have time to be with their family and they have time to read and they have time to go to museums and all of those other things that make you more creative and more productive in business. So the 4th thing I've learned that I wish I'd learned when I was 20 years old is please don't mistake being busy with being productive. My encouragement is be a purist versus a generalist. 5th thing I wish I'd learned when I was 20 years old is this, that it doesn't matter what other people are doing. All that matters is who you're becoming and how far you've traveled. So I understand a lot of us have a herd mentality. I understand that in this world of ours, especially with social media, we are suffering from an addiction to comparison. It makes me think of what Theodore Roosevelt once said. He said, comparison is the thief of joy. I'll repeat that again because it's such a valuable idea, to me at least. Teddy Roosevelt said, comparison is the thief of joy. And real leadership is not about followership, it's about leadership. In other words, you can follow the crowd, do what everyone's doing, think the majority thinking, operate the way everyone is operating, or you can run your own race, trust your instinct, be authentic, speak with your own voice, pursue your own ambitions, and be your own woman or man. But you can't do both. And yes, when you don't follow the crowd and when it doesn't matter to you what others are thinking and doing, you're going to be a freak. I'd simply offer you an insight. Hopefully it'll put a smile on your face, which is everyone seems normal until you get to know them. And so yes, the outside might call you a freak or weird or eccentric, but what's more powerful than being true to yourself? Shakespeare said it really well. He said, "To thine own self be true." And as I suggested, I wish I'd known when I was 20 years old, forget about what other people are doing and how they're thinking, forget about how they're living. You know, the majority of people are full of exhaustion, and the majority of people are addicted to distraction, and many people are depleted and disappointed, and many people have resigned themselves to average. So why would you follow what most people are doing? As a matter of fact, I think a great formula for world class is look at what most people are doing and go in the opposite direction. And all that really matters is who are you becoming and how far you've traveled. As human beings, it's really easy to beat ourselves up because we're not at our mountaintop. Well, that's the journey and process of world class. It's a lifetime pursuit. And you want to make the time to celebrate how far you've come in terms of your personal growth, in terms of your craft, in terms of your impact on other people and in terms of the lifestyle that you've created. And the sixth and final thing I wish I learned when I was 20 years old is that the most loving person in the room wins. So one of the dominant beliefs in our society is that to be brave and courageous and successful, in many ways, you need to work relentlessly. You need to push aggressively. You need to thump your chest. You need to express bravado. And that if you are loving, civil, punctual, polite, sincere, caring, you're a weakling. And what I want to share with you, having worked with many of the most successful people on the planet and many of the great enterprises, whether it's General Electric or Starbucks or Microsoft or IBM, Young Presidents Organization, IBM Watson, it just goes on, Nike. I want to offer you this. The best of the best understand that when you take care of the relationship, the money takes care of itself. The best of the best understands that the business of business is truly connecting with other human beings. And so the most loving person, and I really wish I knew this at 20, being loving and being open and caring about other people and being absolutely obsessed about helpfulness to other people by delivering extreme amounts of value to them is not only the right thing to do. It not only uplifts your joy, it not only grows your self-confidence and makes you feel good when your head hits the pillow every night. It's an amazing business strategy because then you develop these evangelists for your brand and these fanatical followers for your products, because few things are as powerful as being in the presence of someone who genuinely cares, especially right now. Being in the presence of someone who genuinely cares. So there's a city I visit, and when I visit, there's this food court, and in the food court, there's this place that does this incredible Mediterranean chicken. And I just love the food when I go to this city and when I go to this food court. It's healthy and it's absolutely delicious. The only thing is this: when the boss is there, he hardly gives you any chicken. And when the boss is there, you hardly get any salad. And when the boss is there, you hardly get any hummus. What's my point? He's not coming from being the most loving person in the room, the most generous person in the room, I think he's coming from a place of scarcity. It's no judgment whatsoever. I'm not in a position to judge anyone. I'm just reporting. I think he's coming from scarcity. And yet, if he was coming from generosity and love and caring and just felt like I was told people feel at hotels and in taxi cabs in India, that the guest is God. That's what they say in India. I learned that in talking to a taxi driver in India and also at a number of hotels in India. One in New Delhi on the recent February trip. Someone who was helping me out said, I said, like, where are you getting all this from? This joy, you care so much. He said, well, we believe guests are gods. And so if this person at the Mediterranean restaurant was more loving and more generous and remembered that the customer has a lot of choice where they can go, and when you are generous, people keep on coming back, I think he'd be even more successful. So thank you for being here with me in this mastery session. I hope it's been helpful. If you want to go a lot deeper in my philosophy as well as my methodologies on advanced creativity, exponential performance, genuine leadership, and if you really want to live a life that is world-class, not only being successful, but also soulful, then I really encourage you to read my book, The 5 a.m. Club. It's currently one of the best-selling books on the planet right now. At the end of the book, you also get a 66-day digital mentoring program. Details are at the end of the book. And the book is just transforming people across the planet. So why wouldn't you invest in it? I'd also love to share with you, when you invest in your copy, a portion of my royalties goes to help children suffering from leprosy. So you not only get your transformation and learn how the best in the world begin their days and live their days, you're also helping a child who is in real need. So you can feel good about that. And if you'd like to go even deeper and want me to be your mentor, because the great athletes all have coaches for a reason, you really can't do it alone. It'll cost you a lot more to try to figure out how the best in the world build great companies, or how the great performers do it, or how the most successful people think, feel, operate, and live. You could spend a lifetime trying to figure it out. So if you'd like me to mentor you and help you accelerate your success and help you handcraft a world-class life and help you express your primal genius and your native heroism, if that is of interest to you, then I'd love to help you do it. Head over to thecircleoflegends.com, thecircleoflegends.com. That is my world-class online monthly mentoring program, and you'll have a look at all the details over there. And finally, I really hope this episode has been valuable to you. If it has been valuable, I would love for you to share it with 3 friends within the next 24 hours. The teacher learns the most. So by sharing this episode with 3 friends and talking about what you've learned, you're not only going to deepen and integrate the learning so it becomes more sticky for you, you're going to lift up your 3 friends so they rise with you. And wouldn't that be a brilliant thing? So I wish you all green lights, and thanks so much for being with me. Hi, this is Robin Sharma. I hope you received great value from this mastery session. If you'd like to receive potent training videos, blog posts, learning tools, and information on my 2 live events, Personal Mastery Academy and my flagship 4-day experience, the Titan Summit, go ahead and visit robinsharma.com. We live in a world where everything is easy. Everything is so accessible. So people are superficial. Even a lot of conversations, they're very superficial, no? How many people don't resonate with most people? Show of hands. Exactly, that's why you're in this room. Three-step success formula. And I call this model the mechanics of daily heroism. And it's the 3-step success formula. We live in a world of superficiality. This is so important. Most people in business are very superficial. They don't prepare very much before a meeting. If there's a new project, they don't read 17 books. They do a quick search. You know what I mean? Everything is very light. It's very superficial. Before the big event, it's superficial. The way they look at their diet is superficial. The way that they think about their life and their values, superficial. It's because we live in a world where everything is easy. Everything is so accessible. So people are superficial. Even a lot of conversations, they're very superficial, no? How many people don't resonate with most people? Show of hands. Exactly, that's why you're in this room. I can't do superficial. I can't do cocktail party. I need depth. And so we live in a world of superficiality. You know, if you ask some people, what's your 5-year vision? I don't know, good question. You ask some people, not judging, just sharing. What are your top 5 values? I don't know, I've never thought about that. You ask people, what are your routines on the day that you're on fire creatively and productivity? They don't know. You ask people, what was the best day of your life? I don't know. You ask people, what do you want to stand for when you're no longer here? I don't know. You ask people, what is the nutrition and when you're running that protocol, you have massive energy? I don't know. Have I made the point? Yes. It's a very light-hearted approach. Now, if you study geniuses, they're not superficial, they're granular. The way an NHL player, the way he's going to do the laces, the way Picasso prepared the tools, the way Steve Jobs wanted the icons on the iPhone to be so pristine, users would want to lick the screen. Just, are your products so good that your users want to lick your products? And if you're your product, then I don't know what to say, but I mean, if you study genius, the Orson Welles documentary, his amazing movie was rejected and hacked up, like I said. And he wrote and they threw him off the lot. And he wrote a 51-page memo to the studio chiefs saying, here's what needs to happen at the ending. 51 pages. That's all I need to say. 51 pages, no money. He was thrown off the movie. Could have mired in rejection. He was so invested in his artistry, in the craft, in the product. He wrote a 51-page memorandum. Here's the lighting. Here's the way the camera needs to look. Here's the shot. And they showed it in the documentary, all his notes. That is what geniuses do. And let me ask you, how many people in the world are operating like this? One in millions. It's never been so easy to dominate your industry. Never been so easy. Never been so easy to change the world. Because so few people are doing it. The two dominant themes, the collective deprofessionalization of business and the mass mediocritization of humanity. People are addicted to their white screens. There are people in Silicon Valley who are now admitting the whole goal was to create a dopamine rush so people would become addicted to the technology. I love technology. I love it. It allows me to influence and serve and build a movement and all those things. It's a great servant. It's a terrible master. And it's really sad to see kids and women and men addicted to technology, not being present, not exploiting their potential, not doing masterful work, not loving life, not serving the world. It's a great crime against humanity. And it's happening more than ever before. And I believe it's happening to the majority of people. And so people are just in such superficiality when it comes to their craft, when it comes to the way that they're living. And I want you to start thinking about this word granularity. the 51-page memo. When you do your work or that big project that is going to allow you to revolutionize your field, sweat the tiniest of details. Let's call it the Four Rivers philosophy. The Four Rivers philosophy. In Piazza Navona, which is a square in Rome, I believe it's one of the most beautiful squares in the world. I saw one of my friends on social media from Italy. Is she here? Of course, the one person I pick isn't. Oh, hey, how are you? You're AZ Italy or something, right? Nice to see you. So where are you from? You're not from Rome, though. Huh? I'm Iranian. You're Iranian originally. Okay. So, but you live in Italy? And where do you live in Italy? Parma, where the ham is from. Hey, fantastic. So it was wonderful to have you here. So you're not from Rome, but I don't know if you've been to Piazza Navona, but in the center there is a sculpture by Bernini called The Four Rivers. And what made The Four Rivers, I believe, a masterpiece is when it got really hard, when it could have been you could just finish it, he went longer and made it world class. And what I'm saying is, what makes a masterpiece is the tiniest of details. What makes a masterpiece is how you finish the work that you're doing. And that's all about granularity. And so what we're going to focus on, the three-step success formula is simply this. With better awareness, you will be able to make better choices. And with better choices, you're going to see better results. It's really that simple. With better awareness of how geniuses think and work, you will then, tomorrow, be able to make better choices. And as you start making better choices, you're going to see better results. World class lives in awareness. As you understand how the happiest people live, you can start making new choices in terms of your daily routines and your nutrition, for example, which will give you better results. As you develop better awareness of how billionaires did it, you can start making the new choices that will deliver new results. As you understand how the most influential impact, the people of highest impact did it, with that awareness, you're going to make better choices, which will create better results. This is the three-step success formula. And when you start running it, what's going to happen is you're going to leave any form of superficiality. And as you keep on doing it, you're going to develop this acute sense of granularity when it comes to your mindset and your routines and your nutritional plan and the way that you work. There will be no lightness about it. You will become the heavyweight in your marketplace, and you will become a deep thinker and a deep performer on the planet. And I think this is what I call a GCA, a gargantuan competitive advantage, because most people don't do 90% of what I'm sharing. Hi, it's Robin Sharma. This mastery session is all about 4 excellent habits to beat digital distraction. An addiction to distraction is the death of your creative production. There is research coming out now saying that the average person checks their phone 200 to 500 times every single day. As I share in my book, The 5 a.m. Club, your phone is costing you your fortune. If you look at the great geniuses of the world, the Shakespeares and the Basquiats and the Beethovens, the great chefs and the great titans of industry and the great humanitarians, all great thinkers have one thing in common. They spent long periods of time away from diversions, distractions, trivial interruptions. So you can be like the majority, being busy, or you can be a history maker and a legendary producer and not being on your phone, not playing with technology every second, not being addicted to that white screen. You don't get to do both. So if you really want to multiply your creativity and if you really want to accelerate your productivity, this episode of the Mastery Sessions will be incredibly valuable for you. And I'm going to get right into the first habit that will help you beat digital distraction. And that's build your tight bubble of total focus. So there's a relatively new term coming out right now called digital dementia. Digital dementia. We are spending so much time in front of our screens that we are waking up with this full well of cognitive bandwidth. In other words, our gifts and our glory in terms of our brain's capacity. We wake up and we're ready to go. And then what happens is in terms of digital dementia, we check our phone, we check our email, we check for likes, we watch a video, we play with an app, and every single piece of attention that we give to one of those distractions is stealing your cognitive bandwidth. This is really important. You wake up full of cognitive potential, full of the ability to be creative and productive. And every single time you check your screen, some of your cognitive bandwidth, that's the term that the researchers and neuroscientists use, is left on the screen. Another term is called attention residue. You leave a residue of your attention on the screen. And then you turn on the news, more of your attention is left on the news. And then you check for email, more of that attention residue is left on the email. And then you'll find it's 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning and you can't focus and your creativity is depleted. Well, it's not because you can't bring on your fire to dominate your domain. It's because you haven't managed yourself like the pros do. And so the first excellent habit to beat digital distraction is installing this metaphorical tight bubble of total focus around yourself so that you don't let distractions in. Just imagine you have this bubble. It's like a 5-foot bubble around you. It's a porous bubble. So creative things, inspirational things, high vibration, joyful, excellent, amazing people get in. The right spaces get in. And anything that is toxic, anything that is a trivial distraction, which is generally because you have an addiction to it, we'll talk about that later in this episode, doesn't get in. And so really, it's very valuable to get lost. It's very, most people are available to everyone. The phone rings and they pick it up and they answer it. Well, if you do that, you're letting someone else's priorities run your day versus you running your day by your priorities. Tight bubble of total focus could also mean that, you set up your ecosystem and your environments so that there's no distraction. Tight bubble of total focus could mean that you spend long periods of your day alone working on those 1 or 2 projects that are your Sistine Chapel ceilings. Okay, so set up a tight bubble of total focus so you literally stop letting so much distraction and so many things that fragment your attention into your workday, into your creative orbit, which will allow you to get into a state. And I walk you through it in my book, The 5 a.m. Club. There's a whole model. It explains how every human being can operate at a genius every day. But long story short, transient hypofrontality is the neurobiological phenomenon that allows you to, if you set yourself up to get away from distraction, you leave your phone and technology maybe in another room, and you simply sit or work on the project that will allow you to change the game in your marketplace, your prefrontal cortex, which is the seat of thinking and criticism and ruminating, and the monkey mind actually shuts off for a short period of time. That's the transient part of transient hypofrontality. And when that happens, you actually set up a pharmacy of mastery. Dopamine, the inspirational neurotransmitter, is released. Serotonin, the pleasure neurochemical, is released. Your brain waves actually shift from beta and they slow down. They go to alpha and maybe down even to theta, maybe even down to delta. And you actually get to a deeper place of thinking where genius lies. You have that within your brain. But if you live in a world of scattered attention, if you're busy being busy, you're never going to allow the phenomenon that your brain already has, transient hypofrontality, to kick in. Okay, so really take the time to think through how you can set up your tight bubble of total focus where you spend at least 2 or 3 hours a day away from distraction, diversion, that will set up that digital dementia that I talked about. The second excellent habit that will allow you to beat digital distraction, I call them no phone conversations. Well, as I travel across the planet, I go into restaurants, I see entire families sitting around a table. No one is talking. Everyone is on their phones or on their tablets. I was in a European country recently, and I saw a husband and wife sitting at a table with probably a 5-year-old child. The 5-year-old child had these noise-canceling, huge, massive earphones that were bigger than his own head, and I'm joking, but huge earphones to block out the noise. And a tablet had been set up in front of him, and he was playing with video games. And he didn't say a word to his parents. And over the 2-hour meal, while I was at the restaurant with my loved ones, having deep conversations of laughter and sharing, and, I'm not judging, I'm just reporting, the parents didn't say a word to their child. I see so many times in business meetings, someone in the middle of a meeting, they will pull out their phone and start checking their social media feed or start checking emails. And what I suggest, this is just my opinion, but that's disrespectful. The greatest gift you can give your child or your spouse or your client or your coworker is the gift of the fullness of your attention. When you focus your presence and your energy and your attention on another human being, you make that person bigger. You validate that person. One of the greatest gifts you can give another human being is the gift of pristine listening. And if you're checking your phone, well, then again, you're taking your attention and you're leaving attention residue on your phone, which means you have less attention for the conversation. And if you have less attention for the conversation, then you're not really listening to that person. And if you're not really listening to that person, the deep place within them knows it, and they're going to trust you less. And you're going to miss data that would allow you to serve your client or build the teammate or dominate your domain. So no phone conversations professionally and personally. Just turn off your phone, turn off your device before the meeting, and go all old school and have a real conversation. The best leaders are curious. You don't get that if you're worried about your incoming digital messages. Which brings me to the third of the 4 excellent habits to beat digital distraction. Construct your own Menlo Park. So, I'm a big fan of Thomas Edison. He's one of the greatest, if not, arguably the greatest inventor in the history of humanity. I mean, over 1,000 patents to his name, came up with amazing, amazing things. How did he do it? Isolation. You can be out in the world, you can be a history maker and a productive legend. You don't get to do both. One thing all great geniuses do is they spend a lot of time in solitude. Solitude has a bad reputation in our society right now. We think if we're not with the cool crowd, if we're not checking our devices, if we're not posting selfies or other images, we are losing out. We have all these fears, and here's what really happens. As you start to play with your phone, as you start to get hooked on likes, as you start to spend most of your best hours of your greatest days posting, checking, playing with apps, getting hooked, you actually become addicted. We all know about technological addiction. And it's literally a dopamine. Dopamine, as I mentioned earlier in this mastery session, is the inspirational neurotransmitter. And every single time you check for a like, there's a shot of dopamine. And it becomes this addiction. Every single time you check for a like, the hook grows stronger. Every single time you pick up your phone, you build the neural pathway to check it even more often. Every single time you see the if someone's liking you and is your following growing, you tap into that reward system that every human brain has. Because when we were tribal, thousands of years ago on the savannah, we wanted to be liked by the people in our tribe. We wanted to follow the herd. And if we weren't being followed by the herd, we would stray from the herd and get eaten by saber-toothed tigers. We would starve, or we would be captured by warring tribes. And now here it is in modern society, but we still have that neurobiological instinct. It's a part of who we are to check for likes so we fit into the crowd. Well, the true nature of a leader is you're not a follower. And so you absolutely have to do the inner work required to break that hook of being liked. I mean, that's what leadership is all about. That's what being a great artist is all about. That's what dominating your domain is all about. That's what changing the world is all about. It's about saying, here's who I am. I have my own mission, my own vision, and I'm going to break free from the crowd. So back to this point about Edison. Edison had constructed his studio, like every artist has a studio, and he called it Menlo Park. And this was his laboratory, his lab, at the top of this hill where he and his small team would go to, and they would spend weeks there. They would actually spend week after week alone. There were no distractions. No one was allowed up there. They had no diversions. Sometimes they would work around the clock, and guess what? Because they had isolated themselves, because they had found this ecosystem, this environment that was inspirational and isolated, their brains could go into the state of transient hypofrontality, which you have that capability. It's part of every human brain. And they could access the deeper insights that do not get to you when you're thinking all day long. In the 5 a.m. Club, there's a powerful brain tattoo that says, your instinct is more valuable than even your intellect. The great apps, the great businesses, the great pieces of art, the great symphonies, the great movements that have transformed humanity did not come from the neocortex and thinking, being reasonable. The great pieces of progress that have shaped our civilization came from that deeper place beyond the neocortex, which is the seat of human genius, when people followed their instinct. George Bernard Shaw said, the reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable one persists in adapting the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man. If you are stuck in your reason, your neocortex, then you're just repeating what the world says is possible. I want you to be a possibilitarian. And I want you to start playing around what the world says is impossible. And that comes by finding your Menlo Park. That could be a spare bedroom in your apartment. It could be working in a library for 2 hours a week. It could be renting another apartment in your city where you go just to get away from the world. And then you have these glass walls that you write on. It could be traveling more. There is emerging science coming out that says there is a huge link between traveling and amplified creativity. I've written my best books. I've done my best videos. I've got my best frameworks, my best insights when I'm out on the road. And I go into a hotel room and I order flowers. I go to a local flower shop and I bring in flowers because flowers are one of the secrets of advanced minds. Because as you put more beauty in your Menlo Park, you feel more inspired. When you get away from the intellect and you get more into your instinct. And in your hotel room, one thing I do is I bring dry erase markers and I start doing models and goals and insights all over the windows. And I literally make those hotel rooms in beautiful cities. It could be Prague, it could be Milan, it could be Tokyo, it could be Perth, Australia, it could be Agra, India, it could be New York City or Los Angeles. and you're here in this hotel room, which is your Menlo Park, and you're spending a day there alone, and you get your phone on Do Not Disturb, and you maybe don't eat for a few hours, and you allow your natural capability of your brain to offer you these insights that you then take and go out there and use to really lead your field and change the world. Well, that brings me to the fourth excellent habit to beat digital distraction, which is join the 5 a.m. club. You know, as you begin your morning, you're going to set up your day for focus. Your morning routine is so fundamentally important to the quality of your attention and the character of your performance that you get to live through that day. You know, a lot of people, they wake up. I was in a hotel recently in Los Angeles, and I saw people on the treadmills, which is fantastic. Again, not judging, just reporting. And they were walking on the treadmills, but they were watching the news. I see a lot of people early in the morning, they're drinking their coffee, and they're scanning their email. A lot of people, the first thing they do in the morning, they check their social media feeds. Well, you can do what the majority does, or you can change the world and be legendary. You don't get to do both. You know, one of my favorite brain tattoos that I've been sharing for so many years is, to have the results only 5% of the planet has, you've got to be willing to do what 95% of the population is unwilling to do. And the single best thing I encourage you to do is make a commitment right here and right now to spend the next 66 days. That's the research of University College of London. They say it takes 66 days to install a new habit. Spend the next 66 days installing the habit of joining the 5 a.m. club. As you know, I've been evangelizing and passionate about the 5 a.m. club for over 2 decades, and that concept has helped my billionaire clients and my sports superstar clients and members of royalty that I've mentored for so many years, joining the 5 a.m. club and then running the 20-20-20 formula that I'll walk you through in my book, The 5 a.m. Club. That is the mother of all habits. Getting up early and running the 20-20-20 formula during your victory hour from 5 to 6 o'clock, so that by 6 o'clock you have optimized your neurobiology, you've optimized your emotionality, so you're full of gratitude, and you've purified your heart set, and you're feeling happy, and you've processed through pain, and then working through your health set, so you have all of this vitality. And remember that fourth interior empire that I teach in the book, escalating your soul set, so you have turned down the voice of your ego and connected with your higher nature and your true wisdom and that inner warrior inside every one of us. Well, that 5 a.m. club process really is one of the single best ways to beat digital distraction. Why? Because you're anchored in your strength. Why? Because getting up before the sun rises is where the great saints and the true warriors play. The Spartan warriors sweat more in training, bleed less in war. I mean, victories are won before you even step on the battlefield of the day. And that's the power of rising before the sun and working on yourself. You know, meditating, exercising, reading, praying, thinking about your values in a journal, even scripting your blueprint for a beautiful day. The habit researchers call it a pre-commitment strategy. Pre-committing in your journal to living by these values, following these few priorities, getting away from checking your distractions and technology. Well, doing that during your victory hour from 5 to 6 obviously is going to give you so much power to say no to the unimportant so that you can say yes to those few things that are most important during the day ahead. So I hope this mastery session has helped you a lot. I've given my heart and soul in this one, so I hope you feel how much I care and I really want to help you. Here's what I would encourage you to do. If you have found this mastery session valuable, please share it with 3 people as quickly as possible, and then start the conversation with them about everything that you learned. Number 2, if you would like me to mentor you and you want to go 100x deeper into this kind of material that I've shared on, whether it's neuroscience or the philosophy of greatness, if you really want to multiply and accelerate your productivity, if you really want to bring your fire and your primitive and primal heroism to the world, and you're tired of playing small, when you're tired of limiting yourself, well, then I would love to work with you if you're that kind of person. And there is information below on my monthly mentoring program. It's absolutely world-class. It's called Circle of Legends. And if you feel you want to work at Legendary and live that heroic life that I truly believe you're destined to live, check out the information below in Circle of Legends. And I'd love to be of service to you in the program. Finally, if you haven't read my book, The 5 a.m. Club, I spent 4 years of hard labor working on the 5 a.m. Club, and essentially it's 333 pages of me distilling the best ideas I've learned over 2 decades working with billionaires and companies like Starbucks, General Electric, Nike, Microsoft, IBM, and organizations like NASA and Young Presidents Organization. And so read the 5 a.m. Club. I promise you it will be a tool for transformation and a manifesto for absolute mastery. To find the book, you can find it online or just go over to the5amclub.com. And I'm really excited to share that after you finish the book, at the end of the book, there is a free, and I want to emphasize free, because I really want to help you lock in the 5 a.m. Club habit. It is the mother of all habits. You get your morning right, your days will be right. Your days are world-class. You'll have world-class weeks, quarters, and years. The single best move you can make is to join the 5 a.m. Club, run the 20-20-20 formula that I walk you through in the book, because as you begin your day, so you handcraft your life. And I'm excited to share at the end of the book, you will find details for a free 66-day online program where after you finish the book, for 66 days, which is the period of time required to install a new habit, I will literally mentor you through morning mastery meditations and videos at no charge for 66 days until you reach the point that researchers call automaticity, where it actually becomes easier to get up at 5 a.m. than not to get up at 5 a.m. Final thing I want to share with you, a portion of my royalties on every copy of the 5 a.m. Club sold goes to fight leprosy on the planet. It's a violent affliction. I am all in to help fight leprosy as much as I humanly can. So when you invest in a copy of the 5 a.m. Club, you not only invest in your growth and transformation, you invest in helping a child with leprosy live a better life. Okay, so thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next mastery session, and be great. Hi, this is Robin Sharma. I hope you received great value from this mastery session. If you'd like to receive potent training videos, blog posts, learning tools, and information on my 2 live events, Personal Mastery Academy and my flagship 4-day experience, the Titan Summit, go ahead and visit robinsharma.com. This is your life. This is your career. This is your craft. This is your service to humanity. Why would you be checking your phone? Your phone is costing you your fortune. It is an addiction. It's a dopamine addiction. Start the process of breaking your addiction to distraction here in this room today. You've invested in this. You're a learning investor. The best investment you can make is being in this room. Why would you spend it checking your notifications, looking at your email, looking at SMS, looking at pictures of people's breakfasts? Why would you do that? This is your life. This is your career. This is your craft. This is your service to humanity. Why would you be checking your phone? And if you look at a victim, if you look at most people on the planet, they're literally hooked to a white screen. They are wasting their human potential hooked into some social platform that is creating empires for other people. Many people, if not most people, are now a form of artificial intelligence. They're not living their brain's potential. They're not living their physiological potential. They're not living their creative potential. They're not living their human potential. They're not living their economic potential. Why? Because they're hooked to a screen. It is the most frightening time in the history of the world, and it's the most gorgeous time in the history of humanity. Why? Because it's never been so easy to be a hero. Because most people aren't doing it. Most people are lost. Most people are hooked. So turn off your phones. Get serious about this. This is your game. This is your life. This is your sport. And before you know it, you will be at the end. We all know that life goes by in a blink. Like, I am on a mission bordering on an obsession to give you such ridiculous value that it terrifies you. What you are going to experience over the next 4 days is going to blow your mind, enliven your heart. Mindset, boom, heart set, explosion. I want you to have a galactic explosiveness, not only intellectually, but in your heart. You see, one thing I'm bringing to you that is special is it's not just about your mindset. Why do so many people come to an event and nothing changes? Everyone's talking about mindset. Get your thinking right. Think, your thinking forms your reality. Just think, be positive, man. And we learn the ideas, we install the core beliefs. How many people have been to events and nothing changes? Well, have you ever heard of the limbic system, the amygdala? This is a core point why most learning doesn't work. Pretty dangerous comment I'm making. Look at the person next to you and say, Robin's being dangerous first thing on the morning. But this is a very dangerous and gorgeous insight. You see, most learning does not work and most people do not change because we get the learning intellectually. I don't know why I enunciated like that, but we don't get it emotionally. You see, mindset without heart set is a hollow victory. So I want you to not only get boom, intellectual explosiveness. This is not your ordinary learning event. This is world-class, revolutionary learning at the highest level on the planet. A lot of people say this room is the most valuable room to be in. That's the word on the street. But if you get it intellectually without getting it emotionally, you're not going to get any transformation or any gains in your business, in your empires of creativity, productivity, prosperity, and humanity. So I want to blow open your heart. You see, most people in the room, no, that's not. Everyone in the room has been traumatized. No one talks about this. Oh, this is a business event. You're talking about trauma? Everyone in this room has experienced trauma at some level or another, to varying degrees. Sometimes it wasn't being invited to someone's party, trauma. Right? Sometimes it was sexual abuse, trauma. And so what happens is, this is so important, I could spend the whole day on this, but the human tendency and the cultural seduction is don't feel the pain of the trauma. Everyone know what I'm talking about, or am I out on the jagged edges? Don't feel the trauma. Don't feel the disappointment. You got heartbroken. Don't go into it. Only seek pleasure. Only be happy, happy, happy. Put on the happy face. Watch the happy TV shows. Seek pleasure. And what we do is we actually flee from feeling because of the trauma. And we start to live in our heads, and we numb out our body, and we don't feel. But to be human is to feel. To be a great leader is to feel. If you look at the greatest empire builders economically, Zuckerberg, Musk, Steve Jobs, great example. He felt deeply. You know, he lived in a pretty simple house. Even when he was a multi-billionaire. Simple house. He was only about a few things. He was about family. He was about, you know what he said? I love this because I'm a purist. I build my life around just a few things. He said, my favorite things in life, books and sushi. Isn't that beautiful? And he was an artist. He was an artist. And so, mindset without heart set. So we experience trauma and then we block it out, repress it, and then we lose our emotional game, which is mission critical to world class. You've got to love your clients. You've got to love the beauty of creating gorgeous products. You've got to want to serve. It doesn't happen in the head. Oh, you know, service to your clients, to the marketplace, happens in your heart. The desire to lead a world-class life happens emotionally. And that's how you battle-proof yourself against volatility. It's not an intellectual game, it's a visceral game. It's in your DNA. And I'm going to share with you how to do that. So mindset without a heart set is an empty victory, but then there's two more emotional interior empires. The four interior empires: mindset plus heart set plus health set, right? Vitality. Like I said, the hunters on the savannas understood. They didn't understand, but the way the brain developed was literally, if you move, your natural wiring in your brain and physiology kicks into gear. You actually, BDNF promotes neurogenesis. You create more brain cells. Dopamine gets released. Norepinephrine, serotonin. You feel happier. You feel less stress. BDNF repairs damaged brain cells. Your processing heightens. You actually dial in your focus. Unbelievable, the benefits of exercise. But it's not, and here's another key idea on the third interior empire, health set. Vitality is the DNA of legendary. You cannot put a price tag on getting into the greatest fitness of your life. And then some of you, and I'm going to work on you with great love and respect, are going to say, but if I hire a massage therapist, and if I get a physical trainer, and if I get into acupuncture, and if I biohack, and if I get my genome tested to figure out my telomere so I know my real age, if I do all the things that James and Greg are going to talk about, it's going to cost me a lot of money. How many people hear that or think that right now? Be honest. Fantastic. Here's a little insight, just because I love you. I might not know you, but I feel love for you. I'm here to serve you. I've got your back. Getting into world-class fitness will cost you a lot of money. Death will cost you more. Hi, it's Robin Sharma, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this mastery session. This mastery session is about 5 ways to get through a hard time. You're going to learn things like how to seek perspective. You're going to learn how to leverage hard and difficult times for your growth. You're going to learn things like how to embrace the purification so you literally take what's causing you pain and allow it to bring you into your true power. So I know you're going to find this mastery session rich, not only with philosophy and insights, but some great tools that will allow you to do amazing things in your life. So thank you for making the time with me, and let's get right into the first one. Seek perspective. The first way for you to get through a hard time is seek perspective. Here's a question I want to ask you. When you're going through a hard time, do you ask yourself, how could this be worse? If no one has died, well then, it's only upside. So seek perspective is really the first insight I want you to offer. Perspective. Has anyone died here? How could this be worse? What are my blessings? What's good here? What am I grateful for? Perspective is a really important thing to be playing with as you're navigating a challenging time. I remember I was in a country on a speaking tour, and it was quite a poor country. And it was, I was walking to the restaurant to have a dinner. And as I walked there, I had to walk through this place where there was like these shacks. And I still remember, it was a star-filled sky, and I saw this young girl, I'm guessing she was about 12 years old, and she was sitting alone, and she was eating a piece of bread, and she had the largest smile on her face, and her eyes were sparkling. So amidst all of that difficulty, she found perspective, and she linked to her blessings. Makes me think of the lotus. The lotus is a flower that grows in swamps, and yet it's one of the most beautiful flowers in the world. So this first way to navigate hard times is to really gather perspective, to really ask yourself, to go up to your mountaintop and then look across and really get a sense of the truth of what's going on. Your gratitude, what you're grateful for, how could this be worse? Perspective also involves remembering the shortness of life. We live on a tiny planet in a large galaxy with trillions of other planets. Are our problems really that big? That's perspective. Okay, that brings me to point number 2, to handle and transcend and get through hard times, which is really this: leverage for growth. What does leverage for growth means? Well, it simply means that hard times are nothing more than growth coming to get you in wolf's clothing. I'm going to repeat that again with great love and respect because it's important. Hard times, we all go through hard times. It's really nothing more than growth in wolf's clothing. And the real game of the legend and history maker and titan and hero is growth. It's about taking your gifts and your talents and materializing them each day. And how do you do that? You do that by using every single thing that happens to you, good or bad, as grist for the mill. In other words, using everything that happens to you, painful and poetic, to make you stronger and to introduce you to the primal hero that lives at the core of every human heart. I've gone through some very difficult times in my life. Sometimes where I was down on my knees. Sometimes when I was so confused. Sometimes when I was in the valley of darkness. And one of the things that helped me most, and that will help you as you navigate your turmoil and painful seasons of life, is you say, how can I use this to grow? How can I use this to shatter the covering over my ego so I become more creative, more productive, more loving, more of service, more on fire, more of a history maker to humanity in my own unique way? If you look at the greatest people of the planet, the true leaders, the true history makers, the true servants of humanity. If you look at the greatest business builders, if you look at the greatest artists, they all had one thing in common. They suffered more than the ordinary person. If you look at the root of the word passion, it is to suffer. The root of the word passion is to suffer. The great ones suffer for their craft. They suffer for their mission. They suffer for their ambitions. They suffer for their service. So the second point, or the second way to get through hard times, is simply always be asking yourself, how can I use this to serve me, to make me stronger, more creative, tougher, braver, and more authentic? The third way to get through a hard time is to feel to heal. I want you to remember that brain too. If you want to heal it, you need to feel it. People come to me all the time. Robin, I'm heartbroken. Robin, there's someone trying to attack me. Robin, I've lost a business. Robin, I'm dealing with an illness. What do I do with all the pain? Well, here's the point number 3. Feel it to heal it. You know about my 4 interior empires model that is currently disrupting the field of personal mastery, elite performance, and leadership. It's not only mindset, that's only the first interior empire. The second one is heart set. The third one is health set. The fourth one is soul set. I go into it in great detail in my book, The 5 a.m. Club. Here's the point I want to share with you right now in this mastery session. On interior empire number 2, heart set. That is how you turn pain into power. A lot of people say, well, it's all about mindset. Read the books on getting through a difficult time. Read the books on amplifying your psychology. I want to introduce you to this new word I'm offering, your heart set. So when you're going through a difficult time, society says, run away from the pain, run away from the sadness, run away from the anger. What I'm suggesting to you is to heal the wound that someone caused you, or a condition caused you, or an experience has set up within you. You need to go into your heart set and feel it to release it. A lot of us have within us what I call the hurt well. What's the hurt well? Well, we get disappointed, we experience loss, we get rejected, all those human things that happen as we build a career, build a business, build a life. That's just life happening. And what society says is run away from the pain. Don't feel. Weak people feel. And yet the reality is, if you look at psychology, if you look at emotionality, in order to release a toxic feeling, the best way out is straight in. That's the power of purifying your heart set. And so the way number 3 of dealing with a hard time is, whatever the toxic feeling is, just start feeling it. It's like a little kid, you fall or you get hurt and you cry, and then 2 minutes later you're running around with your friends in the sunshine. Feelings are like rainstorms. They have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And if you could only feel it and have the bravery to go into the sadness, the disappointment, the self-loathing, it would dissipate and it would clear, and the wound would heal. What I'm sharing with you right now is so absolutely profound, because if you don't clear the lower energy feelings, you do set up this subconscious hurt well deep within you. All the suppressed anger, suppressed sadness, suppressed rejection, suppressed disappointment. You think it's not there. It's this subconscious hurt well of hurt that influences, that blocks you from intimacy and fluency with your creativity, your energy, your productivity, your bravery, and your authenticity. I mean, we do have a primal hero deep within us. We are built to be on fire. We're built to be geniuses. We're built to be loving. But because of all these emotions that are not pleasurable, that we get to experience, this is one of the gifts of hard time, we get to experience them during hard times. If we don't feel them, it sets up the hurt well. And this is one of the primary reasons we are not legends on the planet. We build this blockade with our greatness. You see, you are your own worst enemy. And what I mean by that is, the world is full of opportunity. You already have the gifts and talents within you. You might not be intimate with that relationship because of the hurt well. So this third point, this third way to get through a hard time is so powerful. Use the hard time to pay attention to the difficult feelings. And as you build that awareness of, oh, I'm feeling a lot of pain, or, I'm angry. Don't listen to society that says run away from the feelings. Go right into them. Feel them and then release them. And I could spend a whole hour on this third point, but just remember another thing. Every feeling is old. So if someone has betrayed you, for example, the feelings that you're feeling that you might be projecting and blaming onto that person, well, you wouldn't be feeling those feelings unless they were pre-existing conditions. I guess what I'm suggesting to you is if it's hysterical, it's historical. If it's hysterical, it's historical. The larger the feeling, the more you know. It probably came from something that happened to you in your childhood. Do you see the gold here? You get to say, well, it's not about that person, or it's not about the current event that I'm thinking it's about. This is about my childhood. This is about this hurt well deep within me. And thanks to that person, thanks to this so-called tragedy or difficult condition, I get to see what's really going on and blocking me from that primal genius within me. And I get to do the deep inner work that every brave soul does to release the shadow side and move into the sunlight. Okay, well, that brings us to the fourth way to get through a hard time, which is appreciate the season. Well, our world and our global culture is very much about joy, 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 happy, happy faces, selfies in bikinis and Speedos. Maybe I'm getting a little too graphic here, but it's all about chasing happiness. What I want to remind you of, because your heart knows the truth, heroes don't just live in the sunshine. What made Martin Luther King, what made JFK, JFK, what made Mother Teresa, what made Jean-Michel Basquiat, the great artist, who he was, what makes a titan of industry so powerful, what makes a great humanitarian or a great mother or father or firefighter or pizza maker who they are, is really not who they are in the times when they're at the top of the mountain. We become heroes of our lives by how we endure and navigate the periods that break our hearts. And I suggest to you, with great love and respect, that if you really want to live a rich life, then appreciate the seasons. We all get our times in the sun, and every authentic, real, fully alive human life has those seasons when we're away from the world and we're in the wilderness. One of my favorite books is The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. And if you're going through a hard time right now, I'd encourage you to read that book. And I'd encourage you to read the two chapters. One is on sorrow and one is on pain. And in one of those chapters, he says, difficult times come to you to crack the shell that covers your understanding. You see, it's only your ego, which is your weak self, your weak side, that is judging this difficult time as quote unquote bad. The deeper, higher, wiser part of you that is being cracked open by this seeming tragedy or painful time knows this is a great time. This is the best, worst time you've ever had. And so what I'm suggesting to you is difficult times do come. There's a natural order to life. There's natural seasons. I think a lot of life, there's this symphony and orchestrated brilliance to life. Because as you go through this difficult time right now, I promise you, there will be a time, it could be a week from now, it could be 2 years from now, where you look back at this and say, wow, that really was the best, worst time I've ever had. And I see why it happened to me, because I needed to learn this lesson, and it made me who I now am. I couldn't have written the books that I've written. I couldn't be here with you now speaking from a place of truth and sharing and service to you if I hadn't gone through my difficult times, because those times have sculpted me and made me who I now am. Am I perfect? Far from it. Am I happy with who I am right now with all my flaws and scars? Absolutely. So I'd say to you, wear your scars proudly and turn your wounds into wisdom, and use your stumbling blocks and make them into stepping stones, because that is the game the legends play. Okay, and that brings me to the final of the 5 ways to get through a hard time, which is really embrace the purification. So when I have really been knocked down and turned around and, fallen apart and been attacked or, maligned, I know that sounds like a bad country song. As I say in the 5 a.m. club, if my dog got into trouble and, my gal left me, it'd be a #1 country song hit. All I'm saying, there's a smile on my face, because that's perspective, isn't it? We can't take ourselves too seriously. Otherwise, no one's going to take us seriously. But the 5th way to get through a hard time is really embrace the purification. And when I've been really knocked down, I just go, I am being purified. It's like, how do you make gold? Not that I'm some gold specialist, but there's the dross, right? All of that non-valuable stuff that's covering the gold. And so you purify it into the fire, and it burns off the dross. It burns away everything that is not the gold. I was in Thailand a number of years ago to do a leadership event, and I was blessed to be in Bangkok, and I saw the Golden Buddha. And I don't know if you know the story of the Golden Buddha, but basically centuries ago, they built this gorgeous Golden Buddha that was absolutely priceless. I mean, this towering Golden Buddha, pure gold. And then foreign invaders were set to attack, so the Thai people said, we've got to protect this national treasure. So they came up with this story, or this strategy, which was to put layer after layer after layer of mud over the Golden Buddha. And sure enough, the invaders come in and they saw the mud and they didn't know what it was. They attacked and they pillaged, but they left the nation. And years later, someone was walking by this seemingly unvaluable mountain of mud. But guess what? They saw a sparkle coming from the mountain of mud. And so he got a bunch of other people, and they started chipping away at layer upon layer upon layer of mud that was covering the Golden Buddha. And as they chipped away more mud, they could see more gold. And they got through the next layer of mud, and they could see more intimacy with the gold. And they kept on going until, behold, in front of them was this towering treasure and Golden Buddha of pure gold. My friend, you are pure gold. I could get into the neuroscience. I could talk about the pharmacy of mastery. I could talk about neuroplasticity. I could talk about epigenetics, which confirms you are not your genetics. Your ecosystem is much more powerful. I could get into deep neuroscience. I could talk about transient hypofrontality, which is every brain's natural ability to move out of the neocortex, which is the seat of thinking, and to get deep into the delta wave state, which you have within you right now if you structure your life in the right way, which is the seed of genius that lives inside every human brain. And this is the advanced minds have discovered that secret order of thinking which allowed them to tap into their latent genius. All I want to say on this 5th way to get through a hard time is, it is in your greatest trials that you discover your highest strengths. And everything that happens to you that the ego judges as bad is actually a gift that has come to you for your purification, to burn away all that is not of your genius and you're gold. A bad day for the ego is an awesome day for your soul and your primitive genius. So I hope this mastery session has helped you a lot. I've given my heart and soul in this one, so I hope you feel how much I care and I really want to help you. Here's what I would encourage you to do. If you have found this mastery session valuable, please share it with 3 people as quickly as possible, and then start the conversation with them about everything that you learned. Number 2, if you would like me to mentor you and you want to go 100x deeper into this kind of material that I've shared on, whether it's neuroscience or the philosophy of greatness, if you really want to multiply and accelerate your productivity, if you really want to bring your fire and your primitive and primal heroism to the world, and you're tired of playing small, and you're tired of limiting yourself, well, then I would love to work with you if you're that kind of person. And there is information below on my monthly mentoring program. It's absolutely world-class. It's called Circle of Legends. And if you feel you want to work at Legendary and live that heroic life that I truly believe you're destined to live, check out the information below in Circle of Legends. And I'd love to be of service to you in the program. Finally, if you haven't read my book, The 5 a.m. Club, I spent 4 years of hard labor working on the 5 a.m. Club, and essentially it's 333 pages of me distilling the best ideas I've learned over 2 decades working with billionaires and companies like Starbucks, General Electric, Nike, Microsoft, IBM, and organizations like NASA and Young Presidents Organization. And so read the 5 a.m. Club. I promise you it will be a tool for transformation and a manifesto for absolute mastery. To find the book, you can find it online or just go over to the5amclub.com. And I'm really excited to share that after you finish the book, at the end of the book, there is a free, and I want to emphasize free, because I really want to help you lock in the 5 a.m. Club habit. It is the mother of all habits. You get your morning right, your days will be right. Your days are world-class. You'll have world-class weeks, quarters, and years. The single best move you can make is to join the 5 a.m. Club, run the 20-20-20 formula that I walk you through in the book, because as you begin your day, so you handcraft your life. And I'm excited to share at the end of the book, you will find details for a free 66-day online program where after you finish the book for 66 days, which is the period of time required to install a new habit, I will literally mentor you through morning mastery meditations and videos at no charge for 66 days until you reach the point that researchers call automaticity, where it actually becomes easier to get up at 5 a.m. than not to get up at 5 a.m. Final thing I want to share with you, a portion of my royalties on every copy of the 5 a.m. Club sold goes to fight leprosy on the planet. It's a violent affliction. I am all in to help fight leprosy as much as I humanly can. So when you invest in a copy of the 5 a.m. Club, you not only invest in your growth and transformation, you invest in helping a child with leprosy live a better life. Okay, so thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next mastery session, and be great. Hi, this is Robin Sharma. I hope you received great value from this mastery session. If you'd like to receive potent training videos, blog posts, learning tools, and information on my 2 live events, Personal Mastery Academy and my flagship 4-day experience, the Titan Summit, go ahead and visit robinsharma.com.